Good evening, race fans, and welcome here to Legacy Phoenix International Raceway. My name is Robert Hill Jr. Joining me tonight, as always, is the Idaho potato himself, Wyatt Knadle. Wyatt, how are you doing tonight, bud?
Man, I am doing pretty good. I'm happy to be here. We had quite a few weeks off in this series, and now we're back, and I can't tell you how excited I am to see this unfold with 2 races to go in the season.
Yeah, 2 races to go in the season. Like you mentioned, we've been off for a few weeks. We're back tonight. Then we're off next week, unfortunately, just due to the Easter holidays and whatnot coming up. But tonight, Phoenix, and then next week we head to, I don't even remember what racetrack we're at next week. Why? That's Iowa. That's right. We're going to Iowa next week for the finale. But here's tonight's pre-race notes. 100 laps, 3 sets of tires, and the key to victory is saving your tires here tonight. 33.3 laps per set here tonight if you want to make it to the end. So a lot of work to do there to try to preserve your tires. But taking a look at the points, as you mentioned tonight, the penultimate race here, Chris Wright currently leading by 17 points over Ethan Stanley. Then it's another 28 back to William White. Hunter Smith there in 4th. Mark Murphy 5th. Jay Kaner in 6th. In 7th, we find Ray Bracey, followed by Jordan Owens, Michael Hosek, and Dave Carpenter. Carpenter not here tonight, so he will lose a couple positions. Looking at our starting order here tonight, smaller field than usual, just 16 cars. So I'll walk us through the first 8, and then we'll go ahead, and Wyatt will take us through to the end here. William White on the pole once again here tonight. Jay Kaner in the 2nd position. There in 3rd, we find Ethan Stanley alongside Chris Wright. Michael Hosack, Mark Keeler, row number 3. Mark Murphy, Ray Bracey rounding out the top 8 here.
And in 9th place, we have Hunter Smith. Outside of him, Michael Goodman. Brennan Ultra in 11th with Mark Rabilas in 12th. Jordan Owens in 13th. Robert Smith 14th, and rounding out the field, we have Harrison Talon in the 5 at 15th, and Rory Collins in 16th.
16-car field here tonight at the Phoenix International Raceway. Of course, like I mentioned, this is the Legacy version, so a little bit different than what you're used to. The start-finish line will be on the pit straightaway. No cactus hanging around on the fence here. But as you can see, the pace car is down pit road here. William White does have the field in his hands. Green flag, and we are underway. William White and Jay Kaner side by side for first.
Yeah, and something we see a lot here, Robert, especially, later in this season, we've seen William White really lead a lot of laps. He just hasn't been able to put together a full race and win one of these things, but it's another great opportunity for him here today.
Absolutely, another opportunity for William White to try to chase down that premier victory for him. Looking there, you see Ethan Stanley step out a little bit. I had the opportunity to be on the box for Chris Wright during most of practice here tonight, and what he mentioned is the rear end has a big tendency to want to step out here. So watch for these guys to be a little bit slideways as the event goes off. Mark Rabilas, Harrison Talon, both involved in an incident there. Rabilas off the racing surface, currently getting back onto the track. Green flag stays out here. Mark Murphy having a bit of a moment. As you see Ray Bracey side by side with Mark Keeler here. That is for the 6th position.
A lot of chaos to start this race. We've had a lot of long green runs in this series and a lot of clean racing. I'm not too sure what happened back there, but it looked like it collected quite a few of those guys near the back.
Another moment there. Robert Smith off the racetrack, still trying to gather it up. Looks like he's going to come to pit road. Mark Rabilas is on pit road. I think Harrison Talon called it a night. Looks like Mike Goodman lost a couple spots there. I think it all goes back to what I mentioned of the rear end stepping around, because you can see the damage on the Smith machine. Looks like he may have gotten rear end and front end damage. So to me, that is a clear indicator of a bit of a switchback on the racetrack. But looking to the front, it is William White leading over Ethan Stanley and Jay Kaner. We have Chris Wright in 4th, Michael Hosek there in 5th. Hunter Smith, Mark Keeler side by side, still with Ray Bracey. And Wyatt, one thing we forgot to do a few laps ago here is make some race picks. So why don't you go ahead and get us started here with your pick to take tonight's victory?
Well, you know, it's been a similar story all season. I think I'm going to have to go with Ethan Stanley. And the reason I want to go with Ethan Stanley tonight is I want a really close points battle coming in this championship race. Ethan's a few points back before he could be comfortable enough to settle it by a spot or two. So I think he really wants to see a win here tonight. And I'm going to go with Ethan Stanley.
Great pick there, taking Ethan Stanley for victory tonight. Multiple victories on the season, and he's been one of the hottest drivers in Elite in 2023, so solid pick there for you, Wyatt. I am going to have to go with somebody. I actually made this call last night on the Grand National Series broadcast. I'm going to go one spot ahead of him here and take the man from the United Kingdom, that is William Wyatt, to take the victory here tonight. I think he finally gets his maiden victory in the Elite Racing League PitPassNetwork.com ARCA Series.
And you know, Robert, I think that's a really good pick. We see Harrison Talon coming back on track here after fixing some damage. He's going to be multiple laps down, I believe 4 down now. But, you know, William Wyatt's shown so much speed at the beginning of these races, especially the last 3 or 4. And it just seems like he can't put together a complete race to finish in the same spot. I mentioned it a little before the race started, and, you know, I'm going to mention it here again. He's got to find a way to compete with these guys later in the race.
That's exactly it. And, you know, that's something that Chris Wright mentioned as well. These drivers are always sort of scouting their opponents out on the racetrack, and Chris mentioned William Wyatt is very quick on the short run. As you see right there, Tally was actually issued to Harrison Talon, self-spin causing severe damage to the Mark Rebillis machine. Mark came back on the racetrack and immediately back down pit road. So damage to that 96 does appear to be potentially fatal for that machine here tonight. He is out of the race. Lap number 2, Tally issued to Michael Goodman, self-spin involving others. So really racking up the incidents early on here. 10% of the way already, which is a nice start. We are under green at this point. Let's take a look at a couple of the cameras we have on the racetrack here. You see the digger cam there as Mike Goodman and Rory Collins go on by. Got a couple corner cameras. Really cool shot there. The leaders coming out of turn number 4, heading towards the straightaway. That's a battle that we're going to hone in on there. Mark Murphy and Bojo Bracey, Ray Bracey in the 7 car, battling for the 7th position. So the 7 for 7th.
That's another beautiful paint scheme out of that 7 car. We've seen a couple of them this season. I don't think we've seen that one yet. That is a good-looking car. Of course, this cat has to be on it. It's a requirement at this point. What do you think of that paint scheme, Robert?
Yeah, Ray Bracey always with a magnificent paint scheme. No matter what he's racing, you always know when you're near one of those Bojo machines. You see the cat, and you genuinely just see a beautiful piece of artwork out there on the racetrack. A lot of time had to go into something like that. I can't paint at all. That's why I have Justin Vandermeer of JV Designs doing all of my graphics. So shout out to Justin and John Cutlip and Kendall Noah Player, Brantley Rodden, every single painter out there that takes care of guys here in Elite. Kudos to you. We couldn't look as good as we do without you. And Black Magic Designs as well on board Mark Murphy's car. They've sponsored a couple races in Elite this season, so shout out to them as well.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Robert. I've got a soft spot in my heart for JV and JD Designs, John Cutlip and Justin Vandermeer. Painting my beautiful Cup cars the last few seasons. I got to thank them as well.
Absolutely. We couldn't do it without those guys. And, you know, we are early on here in the running, but never too early to say thank you to those that do support the Pit Pass Network ARC Series, our debut season here. Smaller car count tonight, but you kind of expect that towards the end of the season. Of course, pitpassnetwork.com, your new home for all things motorsports, from news to reviews and interviews. Check out pitpassnetwork.com today. Of course, Blue Egg Marketing is the marketing department for small businesses, small business owners. Blue Egg is your biggest fan, and Worldwide Technology Raceway, a motorsport racing facility in Madison, Illinois, home to a 1.25-mile oval, a 2-mile road course, quarter-mile drag strip, and a state-of-the-art karting facility known as the Kartplex. We'll hear from TA Services a little bit later, as well as iRacing.com, but shout out as well to Dave Huckleberry, Chad Frankenfield, John Cutlip, Josh Personette, yourself, Wyatt, and all the other guys behind the scenes that really make this series and Elite run as well as it does. We couldn't do it without everybody, and so many unsung heroes in this league. But taking a look back on the racetrack, we'll take a run through the field here. Wyatt William White continues to lead over Ethan Stanley. 1 spot gain for Ethan there. 1 spot lost. Jay Kaner down to 3rd. Chris Wright holding steady there in 4th. Back in 5th is a battle between Hunter Smith and Michael Hossack. Smith up 4 spots so far, our biggest mover of the night. Mark Murphy there in 7th. and 8th we find Ray Bracey. We mentioned his beautiful paint scheme, so shout out again to Ray for that beautiful machine. Brandon Ultra back in 9th, just ahead of Mark Keeler in the number 08 machine. Jordan Owens in the 26, back there in 11th. Michael Goodman in the 44, 73 on the door of that car, but number 44, Mike Goodman in 12th. Rory Collins 13th. Harrison Talon 14th. Mark Rubilis there in 15th, and I believe Robert Smith out of tonight's event in 16th. But back up front, we do have a battle brewing for this race lead, Wyatt. It is William White and Ethan Stanley.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we've seen this out of William White, especially on the short run. The speed's really good, and Ethan Stanley's pretty consistent across the whole run. We've noticed all season in multiple series and whatnot, but Ethan Stanley's got really good pace even at the end of these runs. And, you know, with William White, he's got to find a way to save those tires just a little bit. And I know being in the lead, it can get a little enticing to push as hard as you can to expand that lead, but it'll come to bite you if this thing runs green like it has from the start.
Yeah, not a big fan of biting, that's for sure, but that's one thing definitely to watch tonight. Is this car biting you with maybe an off strategy? Last night we saw that in the Grand National Series. Chad Frankenfield tried to do a bit of an off strategy, gain some points over his closest competitors for a playoff spot, and it ended up immediately biting him. He ended up getting caught in 2 or 3 incidents, causing some severe damage to the nose of his number 15, kicking the tires machine, and that really relegated him to the rear of the field. No opportunity to gain any points last night, probably hemorrhaged points more than anything, and that's what we're gonna have to watch tonight. And like we mentioned, only 3 sets of tires for these guys tonight, so there are only 8 tires sitting on pit road in each of their respective boxes, and if they drive like me, you have to be careful that you're not wearing those tires out.
We might have just seen Hunter Smith smack the wall off turn number 4. Sorry, I had to remember what configuration we were on. Might have caught it just a little bit. Doesn't look like too much damage, but he definitely lost some pace, and he was moving pretty dang quick on the track up until that point.
As we hop on board with Hunter Smith here, you're going to see some of the tightness that these guys are dealing with at this point. You're seeing a lot of wheel on exit from Hunter, and one thing that Chris Wright mentioned to me here, as you see Hunter struggling a little bit on entry, is you have to be prepared to get a great run off the corner. If you do not have a great exit, if you don't get that bite on exit, you're probably not going to have an opportunity to really advance very much out on the racetrack. So these guys are struggling to find the right line for them, the right throttle inputs, braking points, etc., to really be able to work their way up towards the front. But in a race like this, where right now, of course, we are tracking towards another green flag race, let's ride on board with somebody that we typically don't get to do so. We're going to hop on with Michael Goodman here. We go to the gyro cam, see a little bit of the banking that we have here on the Legacy Phoenix configuration.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful camera too. You know, I know it's not in the sim yet, but those clouds look a little dark, Robert. It's a little concerning. Hopefully they didn't sneak anything in without us knowing.
So as we can see on the race information tab here, it is cloudy out here tonight. As you see, 6 mile per hour wind, 34% relative humidity, so not even too bad there. 80-degree ambient temperature, and track temperature is about 96, so actually not too hot out there. But like you mentioned, rain is coming on the iRacing simulation, and you know, we may have to integrate that into one of our road course races next season.
I think that would be a blast to test out in a series like this with these developmental guys and some of these guys with not the most experience in Elite. I think that would be something I would love to see.
That's something I would probably want to be behind the wheel of as well, Wyatt, just to experience it and prepare, because with Chad Frankenfield, you never know. We could end up at Talladega, and all of a sudden it's a monsoon on the racetrack. So I think it's something we all have to prepare for.
I don't want to be on the track at Talladega with wet surface conditions. You know, you can go right
just
ahead.
Hydroplaning, eh?
Well, there's good banking there, but I think the banking might just lift us into the catch fence if we caught a patch of rain. With how many cars that close together?
That would definitely be a sight to see out on the racetrack. A little bit of rain at Talladega. We're watching Ethan Stanley here. Doesn't really seem to be closing the gap too much on William Wyatt over a lap. There's some parts of the racetrack, like Sector 1 here, where Ethan Stanley seems to be a fair bit quicker. And then you get to the exit onto the second half of the racing surface, and William Wyatt pulls away a little bit. So that's something to continue to watch here. And just a note for those of you at home, we are about 4 or 5 laps away from using up that first the first set of tires to the minimum length that you really need to.
And that'll be something for William Wyatt to strongly consider, knowing he's better on the short run. And if he wants to try and pull out a win here tonight, great opportunity for him. You know, started on pole and still leading this race, led every lap thus far. But Ethan Stanley's catching him, and that long run speed of Ethan Stanley is really starting to show on William Wyatt. Lap by lap, he's right there. I think he's not in any hurry by any means to pass him. Doesn't necessarily need to right now, just needs to finish better than Chris Wright, and hopefully by a couple spots.
Yeah, and one thing you mentioned, Wyatt, was maybe considering pitting earlier for a nice short run car, but like Chris Wright was mentioning previously, you have to think about the end of the race. If you're William Wyatt, you come down now, you take a set. That means you only have 1 set left in the pits. You take that about lap 70, you're expecting to go 30 laps on that final set of tires, and then you get a caution about 15 to go. Everyone else still has a set on pit road, and all of a sudden you have the short end of the stick, and you're going from first all the way back to 14th.
Yeah, and that's definitely something you got to be careful about, especially here. You know, we know tire wear is going to matter. We can already see it on track. The question for these guys is, do you save the set for the end? I would argue yes in any other series, but we know this series notoriously runs green. We've had multiple green, 100% green races. Would it be a mistake to not at least try it if you're someone like William Wyatt?
Yeah. I think it would be a mistake. If you're somebody that maybe is a little bit further out and has the opportunity to maybe gain some spots by taking an off strategy, maybe go for it. But if you're someone like Chris Wright, Ethan Stanley, even William Wyatt there in third, then I think you have to try to stretch as long as you can and try to give yourself the shortest stint at the end of the race.
Yeah, and I think, you know, we don't know how this is obviously going to play out, but we might see a guy like Jay Kaner, who's not really in the points per se, fighting for really even a top 5 spot. With him being this close to the leaders, he might argue short pitting 5 laps might benefit it. And so we might see it out of a guy who's not really in the point standing. I don't think Jay is necessarily that concerned with his position in the point standings. I think he's out there just trying to win races or get good finishes.
100%. You have guys like Jay Kaner, Hunter Smith, Michael Hossack, Mark Murphy back there, Bojo Bracey as well. All of those guys not really in the points. So if you have an opportunity to maybe snag a race victory, then why not do something a little bit different? As you see, Michael Goodman, the 12th place car, right there ahead of your race leader, William White. Just for those of you keeping track at home, William White has led 39 laps in each of the previous two pitpassnetwork.com ARCA series events. So William very close to doing that again. Looks like he's on track to easily surpassing that number tonight and hoping for an opportunity to maybe finally grab that first victory here in the Pit Pass Network ARCA series. And just to point out for those of you watching at home, it is 1 in the morning where William White is right now. So he stays up late to do this for you guys and try to develop his skills a little bit. He doesn't do any other elite stock car racing series. This is all he does. So it's not like he's even really pushing for an opportunity to move up to the higher ranks here in elite. He's just out here to race for victories in the ARCA series and have a good time. So again, shout out to William White. If anybody at home is watching William White from the UK, shout out to you as well. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for staying up late and messing up your sleep schedule for the rest of the week. We really appreciate it.
And you got to do it early in the week. You know, it wouldn't be messing it up for the whole week if you did it on a Wednesday or Thursday. You
it is a short week for many people this week, though, Wyatt. So I guess it's kind of like a simulated Wednesday.
I guess so, huh? Interesting.
I don't know about you, but we got Friday off up here in Canada for Easter weekend, Good Friday. So
I cannot relate. More often than not, the company I work for.
Yeah, are you off Monday, or do you get any day off?
Oh no.
No.
We are 5, 6, 7, sometimes 8 days gone, and
but there's only 7 days in a week. How do you work 8 days in a week?
And that's the advantage I have, you know. But I gotta ask you something though. We talked about William White, still battling with Ethan Stanley, but it's 1 a.m. over there right now, right?
Yes, sir.
If you were racing at 1 a.m., do you race with the light on or the light off?
Oh, Ethan Stanley on the wall. Jinx, you owe me soda. I'd race with the light off. I race with the light off here. Makes it a little bit easier on my eyes rather than having light sources coming from everywhere. Just focus in on the one, and I find that helps me a little bit. But different guys, different ways of doing things, I guess. Maybe we'll ask William White that if he ends up on the podium tonight. We'll see if he races light on or light off. Just a heads up here, guys. Jordan Owens on pit road. Good call there, Wyatt. Beat me to it. He's coming down. I think he has a little bit of right front damage potentially there on the 26, but that kick starts our pit stops from the top 10 or so.
Yeah, and I think that contact with the wall might have hurt Ethan Stanley quite a bit. He doesn't look like he has the turn he had. I wonder if he's got a little arrow in the right front, making it uncomfortable for him. He might think about trying to short pit William White a lap or so.
Ooh, heavy damage on that right side of Ethan Stanley's machine. That 91 decal is rubbed right off. You can see the impact zone. As actually Jay Kaner nearly had an incident there with Jordan Owens. Let's watch Ethan Stanley, see if he comes down. I think he's thinking about it. I think he was coming there, Wyatt, but was just too quick off of turn number 4. It kind of looked like he was blowing up for the corner to come down pit road. We'll see if he comes down here in the next couple laps. We heard from Chris Wright where he mentioned he was going to try to get to at least lap 50 before he came down pit road. So maybe some of these other guys are following the same strategy. As we see Ethan Stanley, he is going to stay out, as is Jay Kaner. Here comes Jordan Owens to the inside of Kaner. Owens is a lapped car, so he's just looking for an opportunity to get his lap back the hard way. He nearly contact there. Jay Kaner nearly across the nose of Jordan Owens. He wouldn't need Geek Squad to solve that one. He could easily see what just happened there. You see Mark Rabillas falling back. Again, shout out to Mark for his support of the Grand National Series. RevilusPhoto.com for all your photography needs. Let Mark know that Elite Racing Network sent you, as William Whyte continues to lead lap 46, 55 laps to go here tonight. Ethan Stanley second, Jake Kaner in third there. Chris Wright fourth, Hunter Smith fifth, Michael Hossack, Mark Murphy, Ray Bracey, Brandon Ultra, Mark Keeler rounding out the lead lap cars here currently. As you see a car approaching William Whyte there, that is of course Jordan Owens. We've seen him go by Jake Kaner and Ethan Stanley as well. And just ahead of the race leader is Harrison Talon in the number 5 car. Harrison, of course, already charged with one Talon. Oh no!
Contact!
That's William Whyte and Jordan Owens right there.
Oh no, what a bad break for William Whyte too.
Pulling up the RevilusPhoto.com replay machine, watching the 26 of Jordan Owens and the 43 William Whyte. Owens coming much quicker than Whyte here.
Oh.
Just gets right into the rear of William Whyte. Owens around. William Whyte barely loses it there, ends up catching it just before the grass, but now finds himself back in the 3rd position, chasing down Jake Kaner and Ethan Stanley. So William Whyte's string of bad luck continues here. Hopefully he can rebound, and as you see right now, just awaiting some pit stops here. Look like Mark Rebillis up in the wall, able to get that off of the outside surface, waiting on a judgment from race control on that one. So we'll see if race controller John Cutlip has anything to say about the contact between William Whyte and Jordan Owens. But for those of you keeping score at home, Owens still on the racetrack, as well as William Whyte. As we approach the halfway point in tonight's race, Ethan Stanley is scored as the race leader.
And to be honest with you, I'm kind of surprised seeing how slow Jordan Owens was after that contact, that we didn't see a caution on track. System didn't want to call it, so we didn't get it, but that's a tough break for William Whyte. You know, he was still running a great pace. I don't think he has any real damage there, but the fact he was able to save that car from the angle he was bumped and the position on track he was bumped, that could have been way worse for him.
You know, to me, Wyatt, the one thing that would kind of have me damaged a little bit would be my ego and my pride a little bit, because I was doing so well and all of a sudden I get hit by a lap car. That would kind of have me a little upset, as we see Hunter Smith and Mark Murphy down pit road. I think pit stops are coming up here in just a moment for our race leaders, as Ethan Stanley does stay out. I think William Whyte ducked down. Here he comes onto pit road. Does get down to speed, I do believe. So Ethan Stanley, Jake Kaner, Chris Wright, Michael Hossack all remain on the racetrack, as does Ray Bracey, Brandon Ultra, Mark Keeler, and Michael Goodman at this point. So Ethan Stanley with only 7 others currently on the lead lap. We're going to watch William Whyte. He just gets to his box now. Let's see how close he can get to these leaders
coming down
as he comes off. Jay Kaner down pit road. Ethan Stanley stays out on the racetrack. William Whyte still on pit road here. It looked like a long stop for him, only 14 seconds on the pit stop, so really not anything
and there's
major.
Jordan Owens.
Jordan Owens there with William Whyte. Ray Bracey down pit road, as well as Jay Kaner watching for Ethan Stanley. Here he comes down pit road. Chris Wright gonna take over the race lead here, officially hands that to Chris Wright. Michael Hossack up to second. Brandon Ultra coming down pit road from 4th, the 3rd car on the track though. Mark Keeler stays out, as does Mike Goodman. So Chris Wright, your race leader here on lap number 54. 47 laps to go here. Wyatt, we're going to take a pit stop of our own, and we'll be back in about 2 minutes time here in the PitPassNetwork.com ARCA series.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
And we're back here. It is the Pit Pass Network ARCA Series Phoenix 100 here tonight. Caution number 1 out on the racetrack. It did involve the number 7 car of Ray Bracey. As you see Chris Wright coming down pit road here. Couple big gainers on the racetrack. Mike Goodman going to gain a few spots as guys do lose due to the pit stop. Let's take a look on the RebilusPhoto.com replay machine here, Wyatt, and see what happened to Ray Bracey. As you see, a tally was just issued for a self spin there. Watching the 7 down into turn number 1. Looks like the rear end just steps out, slides down the racetrack. Hard enough into the inside wall. I think he should be able to continue, but Ray Bracey, yeah, he is still on the racetrack, so Ray able to continue. Ethan Stanley is your race leader once again over Jay Kaner. Now Michael Hosek jumps up into that 3rd spot. He is not pit yet, though, so expect Hosek to come down pit road this time. Handing 3rd back to Chris Wright, 4th to William White, and 5th will be decided soon as Michael Goodman comes down pit road. I believe 5th will go to Hunter Smith at this point. So Wyatt, a lot of action so far, but only 1 caution, and we're already well past halfway with 42 laps remaining, now 41 on the racetrack.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think the biggest winner of this all was Chris Wright. You know, he jumped a spot. He's going to have fresher tires than these guys by I don't know, 5 laps, 6 laps. That could make a lot of difference, especially at a track like Phoenix. And a lot of wheel in the car going through the corners. I think Chris has got to be licking his lips here. He is excited to get this restart underway. He's going to have an advantage for a little while. And, you know, with Ethan Stanley leading this race now, that's exactly what he wants. You know, he couldn't have asked for better luck in this race so far. Guy who's really going to lose is William White, having to take the wave around, I believe.
William actually will remain on the lead lap, Wyatt. He's actually going to restart in the, I do believe, as you see William White there. Should restart in the 4th or 5th position. Looks like 5th behind Chris Wright on the bottom. It's actually not too bad for William White, as you do see the field starting to stack back up here. Lights are off on the pace car. It is Ethan Stanley, Jay Kaner, Chris Wright, Michael Hosek, William White, Hunter Smith, Mark Murphy, Rory Collins, Brandon Ultra, Ray Bracey, and Mark Keeler out there. Michael Goodman as well, but Keeler and Goodman both 1 lap down at this point.
Lights are back out on the pace car as well. I believe race control Jonathan Cutlip decided to extend it due to the mass amount of people that were taking the wave around there. I think there was also a little bit of a grid issue and potentially some weird black flag situations. Hunter Smith is going to come back down pit road here. Very interesting.
Watching this 54 car to see if maybe he's getting fuel on that 54. I don't believe he needs any, but with iRacing's new auto fueling feature, sometimes you do seem to get a little messed up by that option. I do believe the jacks are up on the 54. Yes, they are. So Hunter Smith going to grab himself 4 tires here and rejoin the field. Very interesting call by Hunter there, but you know what? He's on the lead lap, doesn't lose too many spots, so if that gives you a bit of an upper edge, then absolutely go for it.
Yeah, but he's going to be out of tires now, I believe. He pitted under green, took tires, and now he's taking his last set. So that
there is a possibility, Chris, though, that maybe he had his tires. Yeah, you are Wyatt. You're not Chris. Wow. Okay. Green flag back in the air for Ethan Stanley ahead of Chris Wright. There's Chris. You're Wyatt. Hi, Chris on the track. Wyatt up in the booth. As Jay Kaner up on the high side here of Ethan Stanley. Stanley going to try to move up in front. He does. Gets in front of Jay Kaner. Chris Wright looking for an opportunity to get up there as well. He's going to have to do a bit of work to close that gap, as well as hold off hard-charging Michael Hossack here. Hossack doing a nice job on the racetrack. Only up 1 position, but every position does count. Tally to Jordan Owens, contact with Michael Goodman under caution. So I do believe that is what actually led to the extended yellow here. Did Jordan have 2 tallies?
I don't think he got one for the incident with William White. So I think he's going to be okay to compete. I didn't hear anything out of race control during that time. But William White, I think he ended up taking the wave around, or there was an issue with positioning, because he is now back all the way to 9th position.
I think you're correct there, and I do believe that might have had to do with the amount of guys that were jumbled in with the race leaders, causing a slight glitch on the scoring pylon, because we saw Michael Goodman up in the top 5. Now he is a lap down back in 12th. We saw William White in, I believe it was 5th. Now he's all the way back in 9th, one of the last cars on the lead lap. So couple little gremlins we're dealing with tonight, but it is what it is at this point. Ethan Stanley, Jay Kaner at the front. Here comes Chris Wright looking for an opportunity to get back to his usual position of 2nd place here on the racetrack at Phoenix. One guy that's really impressed me all season long and continues tonight is Michael Hossack there in the 4th spot, doing a great job, looking for an opportunity to work his way onto the podium here. Obviously a long way to go for that, 35 laps to be exact. All 3 of these guys basically under a blanket. We're going to go up to Chad Frankenfield's favorite camera that's not TV1. We're going to go up to
TV2.
the blimp camera and watch how close Michael Hossack gets to the rear of Jake Kaner. It almost looks like Kaner's car steps out just a wee bit there, as we've heard drivers complain about all night long. So going to be interesting to see how the handling continues on these cars, as we are getting close to the time where you really have to start working on making your moves towards the front. Michael Hossack on the inside of Jake Kaner there for the 3rd position. Hossack doing a nice job holding the bottom. Jake Kaner showing a bit of muscle on the high side. The muscles work out here. A little bit of a flex off of turn number, I believe that was turn number 2, down the straightaway ahead of Michael Hossack here. Gets back in line. I do stand corrected. That was turn number 4 just moments ago, as Jay Kaner continues out front of Michael Hossack. Chris Wright has his eyes set on his championship rival Ethan Stanley. Stanley leading now with 33 laps remaining. Chris Wright looking to push that loud pedal through the floor here, Wyatt, to try to get back up to the leader. But let's keep an eye on this battle for 3rd, because they are getting relatively close out here.
Yeah, absolutely. And another guy to keep an eye on now is Hunter Smith. He took those tires with the 1 to green there, and he's already worked his way from the very last car on the restart all the way up. I mean, he's cleared pretty much everybody. I think he has 1 more car to get before he's to this battle as well. And, you know, Michael Hossack is showing great speed again here tonight, and he's going to dive it in there hard, but he made it stick. Jake Kaner's giving him lots of room, though. It's a good battle, Robert.
Great battle indeed as Hasek tries everything he can to get by Jay Kaner. Jay Kaner very, very strong there in the third position. The gap between first and second, Stanley and Wright, is 1.3 seconds, where this gap here from third to fourth is less than a car length. So some very, very good action out here on the racetrack. Let's go a little bit further back. William Wyatt on the inside of the lap car, Mark Rebilis. There's Brandon Ultra just behind him. Eyes are set on Mark Murphy just up ahead. So a lot of work to do for William Wyatt to work his way back up to having a shot at this thing. He's going to hope for a yellow flag to come out, because otherwise he most likely will not have a good shot at the race lead.
Sorry, I made a noise while you were talking there. I saw Brandon Ultra slide up in front of the other car, and it made me a little nervous. I thought he was still to his outside, but they made it through. And like you were saying, William Wyatt had a bit of bad luck. Bad break on the green flag stops when the caution came out. And now he's got another uphill battle to climb. It's not the first one he's seen this season by any means, but he's done pretty good in the past with him. He's being patient through the field, hopefully not burning his tires off. And he's going to have something for this top 5 here shortly, hopefully.
Definitely hoping not to burn his tires off. A lot of wear can go on these tires, especially at the older racing facilities such as Legacy Phoenix. Sorry about that. Had a little lump in my throat there. Had to clear that out. As you see Hasek chasing down the Jay Kaner machine. This battle continues, and one thing you mentioned was tires here. If these guys keep battling as hard as they are, they're not going to have to worry about tires. Their tires are going to go right out the window. Hunter Smith, Mark Murphy, William Wyatt, and co are all going to get right there with them, as actually you see Hunter Smith entering the picture right there from our television camera view. Ooh, Michael Hasek into the rear of Jay Kaner. Hasek getting a little aggressive here.
Yeah, and rightfully so. You know, he thinks he's got a faster car, and it sure looks like it some corners. Other corners, Jay pulls him. I think he ended up letting off the gas a little bit there, realizing he was almost lifting him up like a wheelbarrow. And gave Jay a little bit of room. So good decision there to avoid potential incident, and they're still racing. We see Hasek really cranking that wheel, though, coming off turn 2, and he's fighting that thing, man. He's working hard. We see these guys slowly starting to reel in Chris Wright now, who's lost about 3/10 to Ethan Stanley for the lead. And he's about a second and a half back now. Hunter Smith's still coming, though. Jay Kaner's working that wheel too, man. Holy cow, he looks like he's getting loose. But, you know, Hunter Smith's coming now. He has gained a few tenths on these leaders the past few laps, and he's going to work his way into this battle for third and fourth here before too long.
As we ride on board with Hunter Smith, you do see the fourth place Michael Hasek machine just up ahead. As we jump back to Hasek, you can see they are closing the gap on Chris Wright here. 23 laps to go. So we are more than 3/4 of the way through today's event. One caution. It was an incident between actually just Ray Bracey. So not too bad. One solo spin brought out a yellow. So otherwise, so far, so good here at Legacy Phoenix. This battle has been pretty darn intense as Michael Hasek looks for another opportunity to get by. I think that one may have cost him a little bit there as Hunter Smith comes back into the picture. Let's take a look at our biggest mover of the night, and it might not be someone you would expect, but it's Rory Collins back here in the number 62, currently running 10th. He has gained 6 spots since the start of the race. That is our biggest mover thus far. Biggest dropper through the field, unfortunately, Mark Keeler. Mark's still running in the 11th spot, so pretty good points today, even though he's lost the most positions on the night.
Yeah, you can't be too mad flirting with the top 10, no matter the car field. I mean, it's a stat, and everybody wants the top 10. So, you know, if he can work his way past Rory Collins and get to the 10th spot, I think he's going to be pretty happy. Collins is going to be happy too at the top 10.
Absolutely. As we see a battle here, that's Michael Hossack side by side with Hunter Smith. You've mentioned numerous times, Wyatt, that Hunter Smith is coming very quickly. I guess he has finally arrived. Hunter Smith up into the 4th position, on his way now to catch the Jay Kaner machine. 20 laps to go here at Legacy Phoenix here in the Pit Pass Network ARCA series.
And another thing to point out too is Ethan Stanley's been gaining more of an interval against Chris Wright right now. I wonder if, because now we're at a point in this run, we're about 20 laps in, 21, 22 laps in, we're really going to see the tire wear matter now. So if Ethan didn't do a great job, Chris could have been saving tires, and he's going to be in the driver's seat here to battle for another win. He won 3 weeks ago at Kentucky, and I don't think he wants to finish second anymore, so he's going to have to push the button a little bit.
Definitely has to push the button here, and that is his championship rival, Ethan Stanley, up ahead, collecting currently first place points as well as laps led bonus points. So Chris gonna have to do what he can to try to get up there, and what Chris might be hoping for at this point is a yellow flag to get him much closer to the Ethan Stanley machine. 2 seconds is a lot to make up, especially when Ethan Stanley continues to pull away from Chris Wright at this point. And Wyatt, with 17 laps to go, we're going to head to our final commercial break here, and when we come back, we'll take you right to the finish of the Phoenix 100 here in the Pit Pass Network ARCA series, live on the Elite Racing Network.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
We are back here in the Phoenix 100. Second place battle is heating up here. Jay Kaner side by side with Chris Wright here. Chris Wright's tires have gone the wrong way at this point, losing positions just about to Jay Kaner. You just heard from our friends at iRacing.com as well as TA Services. TA Services is a proud premier partner of the Elite Racing Network. Blue Egg Marketing is the marketing department for small businesses, small business owners. Blue Egg is your biggest fan. Worldwide Technology Raceway is a motorsport racing facility in Madison, Illinois, home to a 1.25-mile oval, a 2-mile road course, quarter-mile drag strip, and a state-of-the-art karting facility known as the Kartplex. Check out Worldwide Technology Raceway today, and of course, pitpassnetwork.com, your new home for all things motorsports, from news to reviews and interviews. Check out pitpassnetwork.com. Wyatt Knadle, what do you see out on the racetrack, buddy?
I see about 4 cars getting ready to battle for the second position. We got Chris Wright in second, Jay Kaner third, Hunter Smith fourth, and Michael Hossack in fifth. And Rory Collins is going to pit here.
Does look like he's collected some nose damage of some sort. We're coming to 10 to go here, Wyatt. What do you think the chances are we see a caution?
Well, I think this is the closest we've seen a group of cars since the green flag pit stop, after the restart, of course. I think this is probably the best chance of the entire race to see a caution with how close these guys and how hard they're driving on old tires that are uncomfortable. So we see Jay starting to peak below Chris Wright, but can't quite set up the pass yet. I think this is about the most optimum time we might see one in this race right now.
As we do see Jay Kaner here on the rear of the Chris Wright machine, looking for an opportunity to make that move on Chris for the second position. Not able to do so. 9 laps to go here. Your race leader is Ethan Stanley, and he's out front by about 2.3 seconds. So if I'm Ethan Stanley, I am hoping for no cautions with just 9 to go. Chris Wright, Jay Kaner, second and third. Hunter Smith there in fourth. Michael Hossack doing a phenomenal job in fifth, and he's going to look to get up there into that battle for second, as well as Hunter Smith. So watch for what is currently a 2-car battle to quickly become a 4-car blanket, basically, in just a few moments if those guys can get up here. But I don't know that Chris is going to be able to hold on to second here.
Yeah, I'm not too sure either. He's not happy in that car, and this second spot is the only time he really wants to finish second here. He can't afford to give up any spots on the track towards that points lead, diminishing the points lead, I should say. He's gonna fight to no end on this, but I just got intel from the racetrack. Harrison Talon has not taken tires in this race.
Harrison Talon will be caution number 2 here tonight at some point, with coming to 6 to go. Ethan Stanley's hoping that Harrison Talon does not get involved here. Harrison, of course, 4 laps down, did not make it out for practice tonight, unfortunately, but did start the race multiple laps down. As we see a battle for 6th position, William White, Mark Murphy side by side. White on the White on the inside, Mark Murphy on the outside. Brandon Ultra taking a look from behind there. So we go back to second. It is Chris Wright, Jay Kaner pulling away from Hunter Smith, who still has Michael Hossack breathing down his neck here. Hossack with another send into the corner. 5 laps to go. It is Ethan Stanley continuing his strong charge out front, coming to 4 here as he heads into turn number 3. Going to work his way through the final set of corners onto that front straightaway down towards the line. Now 4 laps remaining here in the Phoenix 100. These guys have done a phenomenal job here tonight, and all we can hope for is an opportunity to go green to the end and really let these second place battles as well as the 4th place battle heat up out here on the racetrack. Chris Wright holding on to second right now. Hunter Smith actually side by side with Michael Hossack. Hossack easily goes by on the inside. Move Michael Hossack up into the 4th position. A little bit of contact between Chris Wright and Jay Kaner, and we could see a runner-up finish for Michael Hossack here with 3 laps remaining at the Phoenix Raceway.
And I'm looking at this, and Chris is really using the defensive line going into turn number 1, and he's losing a lot of that momentum off the corner. And Jay Kaner's actually going to peek here to his outside. He shut the door on him. Holy cow. Chris does not want to give that spot up, Robert.
Absolutely not. Here, Ethan Stanley sideways on the front straightaway, comes across the line. 2 to go. Mark Murphy still collecting that machine. He's going to lose that spot to William White here. Watch for Ethan Stanley to come around to collect that white flag here in just a moment. We'll actually ride on board for that experience here. As you see Ethan Stanley catching, I do believe that is either Harrison Talon or Michael Goodman up ahead. Take a look at Barney the Flag Man. He's waving hard. That is the white flag in the air. Next flag will end tonight's race, and we will finish the race in under 1 hour of time. So pretty incredible work by these guys tonight. Kudos to them. Chris Wright currently holding on to second position. He is so used to that position, that is not even funny. Jake Kaner going for one final look at Chris Wright's rear bumper. Here comes Ethan Stanley sliding across out of turn 4. Ethan Stanley victorious here tonight. Chris Wright barely over Jake Kaner. Michael Hossack comes home 4th. Hunter Smith 5th. William White there in 6th. Here's Mark Murphy and Brandon Ultra 7th and 8th. And there's Ray Bracey coming home in 9th and rounding out the lead lap finishers here tonight. Wyatt, of course, Ethan Stanley victorious again.
Absolutely, and well-deserved. Had good speed the entire run, both runs we had. And, he deserved this one. Bad break for William White. Going to come home outside the top 5, but Ethan Stanley's got to be happy with this. The only thing he's probably not happy about is having Chris Wright finish right behind him.
As we see the final results on screen here, Ethan Stanley, Chris Wright, Jake Kaner, Michael Hossack, Hunter Smith, the top 5, William White, Mark Murphy, Brandon Ultra, Ray Bracey, and Mark Keeler round out the top 10. And rounding out the field here tonight is Michael Goodman, Jordan Owens, Rory Collins, Harrison Talon, Mark Rabilas, and Robert Smith. Down on the racetrack doing his victory celebrations is, of course, Ethan Stanley. As we work to get our top 3 finishers up here in the booth, we actually do have Ethan Stanley standing by, so we're going to go ahead and pull him in right away for an interview in Victory Lane with Wyatt Knadle.
Ethan Stanley, Wyatt in the booth, man. Congratulations. How you feeling?
Feeling pretty good. Kind of wish Jay got the pass there. They're done at the end. But, yeah. Pretty good win, I'd say. 2 seconds.
Absolutely, and, you're going to gain a few points on Chris coming in this championship race here in a couple weeks. How do you feel your race went, and how do you feel about Iowa?
Race went pretty well. I think William White definitely had the pace on me. He was able to save a little bit better on that first stint, but he kind of got shuffled back through the caution. But race went pretty well for me. I was able to just keep the tires on the car for the second half and was able to just pull out a little bit of a lead.
Absolutely, and you ran a really good race. We mentioned that, and you got a lot of screen time again tonight. Without a sponsor on the side of that car, you're going to get a sponsor going into the championship race at Iowa?
Probably not. I'm really confident for Iowa. I think I should be pretty good there. I'm a real big fan of that combo. Just depends on where Chris finishes in the end. It's all up to him, really, who wins the championship. But, maybe at some point I'll get a sponsor on one of the cars. The only one I got on there right now is One Up Games and Repairs. Big shout out to them, based in Bay City, Michigan. Was on the podium last night with them in the Grand National race. But just big shout out to you guys and everybody that makes the league happen.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. For Robert and I in the booth, we have had the privilege of watching you every race in this series thus far in the opening season of the Pit Pass Network ARCA series. But, you've won quite a few times. You've got some great finishes. You think you're going to win next week?
Definitely a possibility. Iowa's a little bit like Phoenix, where really bumpy surface. Just got to save your tires. So should be interesting. It's a little bit more multi-groove than Phoenix is, so maybe we'll get a lot more passes. But just hope that race goes well for me. Maybe a win.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, congratulations, Ethan Stanley. You won again. We'll see you here in a couple weeks at Iowa for the championship race. Thank you for joining us in the booth.
Yeah, thank you, man.
That was Ethan Stanley, our winner here tonight. Looks like only Jay Kaner standing by in the waiting room, so we'll go ahead and pull him in now for his third place interview. Jay Kaner, it's Robert up in the booth. You got a copy?
I do. What's going on, guys?
We saw you charge really hard there at the end, trying to get by Chris Wright. Just came up a little bit short on that second position there. Is there anything you think you could have done differently to get by Chris and maybe have a shot at Ethan Stanley?
No, I'm not really sure. The way I managed the tires in the first run there, even with managing the tires, I was pulling away from Chris pretty consistently. So I was kind of caught off guard on that second run there. That the pace was as fast as it was, and nobody really fell off. So I guess we were all kind of pushing equally there. Pushing him there at the end. I mean, I probably could have pushed the issue if it was for a win, but I wasn't going to move him or wreck him for second place. So it just the way it worked out.
Absolutely. And we saw some guys struggling here tonight with the rear end wanting to come around. Did you find that was the biggest challenge out here at Phoenix?
Yeah, I wish I would have practiced a little bit more. I ended up working later tonight than I expected. I only got like 10 laps of practice, but it definitely was, like I said, that first run, I tried to manage the right front really well, and it did, consistently get loose. And then pushing harder that second run, it was kind of like tight, snappy, loose when you really tried to push the issue. But yeah, there definitely, once the tires wear, there was not much security on the right rear on coming off the corners.
And looking at the schedule, obviously next time out in 2 weeks, we're at Iowa Speedway for the inaugural season finale. How are you feeling about Iowa Speedway?
I like Iowa. Yeah, I think I'm fairly decent at it. I think it's going to fall into some longer runs and managing tires, so I look forward to that. Obviously, the way that William ran the first half of the race before he had his trouble there, he probably would have been pretty tough to beat. As the tires went away, he kept pulling away. So I think it's going to be a 4 or 5 car deal at Iowa, and I think it's going to be pretty similar to this, just managing tires and trying to be around at the end.
Well, we're excited to see what you can do in 2 weeks' time at Iowa. Hopefully we'll be seeing you back in victory lane like we saw in the last round here in the Pit Pass Network ARCA series. But before we let you go here tonight, Jay, any shout-outs you want to give, any sponsors you want to thank?
No sponsors. Last time when I was got to talk to you guys, I forgot to thank all the Higgins and Ultra guys for watching on the broadcast every week with us, and our buddy Tyler couldn't make the race tonight, but just teammates Brandon Ultra and Tyler and Jesse when he's around, and that's about it.
Well, congratulations on your third place finish here tonight, and like I said, we'll see you in 2 weeks' time at Iowa Speedway.
All right, thanks, guys.
Wyatt, that was our third place finisher, Jay Kaner, and it does look like we have our runner-up here tonight, Chris Wright, standing by in the booth for an interview with you.
Chris, right? It's Wyatt in the booth, man. You got me?
I got you, Wyatt. What's going on?
Well, I thought we broke this curse you had. Last time we were on track at Kentucky, you picked up the win. Second place again tonight, man. How do you feel?
Honestly, tonight's probably the first second place finish all season where I'm super happy. I don't think we were a second place car. I think more than likely we were about a fourth place car. The way things shook out, once we got so far into that run, I realized I wasn't going to be able to run with those front three. So I was just going to do something different there and pulled the strategy there that Michael McDowell and Josh Berry did. I was just going to stay out and hope we got a caution. And we got one, gave me a little bit of a tire advantage. 43, not coming and getting another set there. I mean, he couldn't in case there was another caution. Kind of put him out of the picture. And then it was just Jay, myself, and Ethan. And Ethan was way faster all race than me. So was Jay. I thought my advantage over Jay was a little bit more than Ethan on tires. So finally able to pass Jay there. Tried to run with Ethan there. Just couldn't do it. So second place tonight. Last 10 laps or so, Jay got back to me, and I raced really hard against him there. Knowing the points battle, I knew I needed to hold on to second if Ethan's going to win, and I think I was willing to race a little bit harder for that spot than Jay wanted to, and Ethan was so far gone that Jay knew he wasn't going to be able to get to Ethan if he got around me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm looking at your stats throughout the season right now, Chris. This is your fourth second place finish, right? Every other race, you have finished in the top 5 except for Daytona.
And put a little asterisk there because we were side by side for the lead with a half a lap to go and ended up and a little bit of a wreck there.
So say you go into Iowa in 2 weeks' time, right? And you finish second again.
Oh, we'll
Will
take it because that's the championship. Give me another one.
Will you do burnouts with Ethan Stanley if he wins that race?
Well, yeah, if he wins the race and I win the championship, why not?
Well, you guys are championship rivals. We're trying to build a little drama here.
Oh, there's no rivalry. I love racing Ethan. He's been a ton of fun to race with. Ton of fun to watch, too, when we had the F1 series going, and Ethan was really strong over there. So it's been a lot of fun racing in this series. These cars are a lot of fun. Tonight was probably the most throttle-sensitive race all season outside of the Charlotte race, where iRacing had their little glitch, and we had something with a little bit more power than we were used to. But tonight's race was all about trying to keep the rears on it and not push too bad. And it was a fun race. I felt like I was a little better than those guys on the long run. It just 100 laps and everybody pitting to that 50, 55. I think if everybody would have had to go to a full fuel run, I might have been able to get back to them, but it is what it is. It was fun. We'll take second tonight. Like you said, we go to Iowa in a couple weeks, and I'm not sure what the point gap is going to be. I don't know how many more points he scored than me. I know we both led. I think we both broke even on everything except for the finishing position because I believe the 43 led the most laps. Do either of you have that information?
It's going to be close for sure. I'm not too sure who led the most. It's going to be right on top of each other. That could...
Most laps led here tonight by just 3 laps difference. Ethan Stanley with 49, William White 46.
Well, I'm really glad I was willing to race Jay pretty hard for second. Jay even said at the end, he was like, I just didn't want to push it too hard for second. So I appreciate Jay not just trying to body me or use me up there for second. I think he knew with the points battle that
dumped
Ethan and I'm sure that Ethan would have liked to eat. That was the first that Ethan crosses the line in that race. He's not saying, oh, I'm glad I won, or, oh, man, it was great. He said, man, I was hoping Jay could pass you there in those last few laps.
That's what he said to us as well.
So we both were well aware of what's going on.
Well, in 2 weeks' time, you end up at Iowa, Chris. And how do you feel about Iowa? You think you got pretty good odds there, or how do you feel about that track?
Man, I'm not good at Iowa in anything I've ever driven on the sim. So, I don't know. I'm going to have to get with one of my good friends there. Josh Adams is really good at Iowa. I'm going to have to go to the school of Josh up there in Iowa and hope to figure something out. Wait for the points to shuffle out and see exactly what I need to do and where I need to finish. And that's probably going to be the goal, is just to finish wherever we have to, lead a lap, do whatever, just to make sure we maximize our points there and whatnot. Because I think Ethan, I haven't seen a racetrack yet where he's ran bad, so Ethan will probably be one of the guys to beat there in Iowa. And it was unfortunate, too, during the race. I was too far back to see what happened. But whatever happened to that 43 was unfortunate. He was pretty strong tonight and probably would have been able to give Ethan a run for his money and maybe kept Ethan from winning the thing if whatever happened to him didn't happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to bring Robert in here for a moment and see if Robert has anything to ask you.
Hi.
I know you guys are good buddies. Hello.
Hi,
How are
Chris.
ya?
Chris, what did you do with your talent over the last couple of weeks? Of course, we were expecting you to be victorious tonight, and you promised me that you would be victorious. And of course,
I did not
that
promise
was not the
any
case.
such thing.
I think you did.
I think that you're just trying to stir up some things. That's what I think.
I think you're right, but but Chris,
Hey,
obviously,
you know what? It's all about the points, right? It's all about the championship, the big picture.
big picture racing. Of course, how do you approach a race like this here tonight? Obviously, we finished the race, but what was your mindset going in? Did you think, okay, I have to win tonight's race, or I have to match Ethan Stanley all night long?
Well, I went into it just like any other race. You don't go into it to prepare any different or expect any different. Then you get in there and you see kind of where your pace is, and then it's not – I wasn't even thinking like, oh, I'll match Ethan just to match Ethan. I was going to do what they didn't. When they all pitted at halfway, I was like, I'm just going to stay out, run it out of gas, and hope to catch a caution. That was my strategy with the limited tires tonight. And, of course, getting a lap lead, that was on my mind. At the end there, once the race shuffles out and you kind of know where you are pace-wise – you're trying to maximize every point. So I was racing Jay really hard for second, probably harder than I would have if it wasn't Ethan out front. If it was the 43 out front, I probably don't race Jay quite as hard for second. Chopped his nose a couple times, and he took good care of me, like I said already once in this interview. But it was you become very aware of what's going on, and I'm not the only one. Like I said, Ethan, the first thing he said when he crossed the line was he was hoping I would lose second. Every point matters. Especially in that we're down to about 20 cars showing up a race. So I think if he led the most laps, we're looking at 13 as the gap, 1 extra point for leading the lap, and 3. We came in at 17, so that puts it at 13 is going to be the gap.
So you also got a point for leading laps tonight, because you did.
But he led the most.
You led 5, so you get a bonus point. He would get an extra one on top of you, and then he won the race as well. Is there a bonus point for that?
It's 3, right? The winner scores 3 more points than second. So that should put it out to that should be 13, I believe, going into Iowa.
100% correct there, Chris. So difference. Yeah, pretty tight going into Iowa. Still a gap, but a lot that can happen there. But Chris, obviously we don't want to keep you too long here tonight. Before we let you go, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to? Anyone you want to thank? Maybe like 17 Adams brothers you want to say hi to?
17? I don't think there's 17 of them.
There's at least like 3 or 4.
But I will say, I want to give a shout out to you guys here, everybody at Elite Racing Network. I know Dave, all the work that he puts into this, and all the work you put into the series specifically here, Robert. Everything Chad does, Wyatt coming on board and working for free here. He's out here struggling to get started. I think Wyatt needs to start getting paid, Robert.
He's just one of them starving artists,
Yeah, what he said.
Of course,
I don't really know what to say.
Of course, shout out to Chad. All the leagues he runs. We're off this week here, and the rest of the week, I believe we had race last night.
Thursday night at Milwaukee Mile in the Lotus, Chris.
There we go, Thursday. I know next week we got the full length race on Wednesday, so a lot of work goes into making this series happen, and all these different series in Elite. Shout out to Goody. I raced with Goody tonight. Had a conversation with him. Hated seeing him get tore up there. I got a firsthand listen to that when it happened there early in the race, so that was unfortunate for him to get caught up in that stuff. Shout out to everybody at Lake Norman, Fody, all my teammates over there, Gavel, Nick Massey, Kwame Scott, who was not here tonight, was not present after I requested his presence last night. And, of course, I'll shout out the Adams brothers as well. They're good friends. They're not teammates. Josh is still over there on the dark side with that team over there. I hear that team owner's not treating him too well, though, so maybe we can get him to move teams here at the end of the season.
Probably not, but but that is Chris Wright, our second place finisher tonight. Chris, congratulations on another runner-up finish.
That's right. We're going for the second places, baby.
Woo. Well, Wyatt, final thoughts from you before we head out of here ourselves.
I just want to toot my own horn a little bit. I think I
toot
predicted
it, buddy.
the top
Toot
2.
it.
I predicted Ethan Stanley to win and Chris to again finish second. I believe I nailed that one on the head. Great racing again tonight. We got one more race in the opening season of the Pit Pass Network ARCA series. I am very happy to be a part of this. It continues to impress me regularly, and I'm just proud. I want to thank you. I want to thank everybody that we usually thank. I'm not going to go through the list because I'll forget names and I'll feel bad. But I just want to say thank you, and I'm excited 2 weeks from now.
Well, I couldn't have said it better myself, Wyatt. Thank you to everyone for tuning in tonight. Thanks to our premier partners, as well as Dave Huckleberry, Chad Frankfield, everyone behind the scenes, John Cutlip, Race Control, Wyatt Knadle up here in the booth, you guys watching at home, and everyone that has tuned in all season long. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here tonight. This has been another Elite Racing Network production. My name is Robert Hill Jr. That's Wyatt Knadle, and we will see you next time.